Hi, my name is Jennifer. I'm a woman in the middle of what some might judge to be a midlife crisis, but I've chosen to call it a midlife plot twist because this isn't a crisis. This is a reclamation, a chance for me to reclaim who I am as I move into the second half of my life and embrace midlife. This is a moment of coming home to myself and owning who I am. As someone in her late 40s who has decided to go back to school, I'm inspired to share my evolving story in the hopes that it helps someone else who's taking brave and meaningful action for themselves in midlife. After being on sick leave and subsequently long-term disability for the past 2.5 years, I've decided to change careers. When I applied for this degree, I didn't think I'd be accepted. This, though, is the first week of my new master's program and my return to the status and identity of being a student. Today, I want to talk about what this is like and to share with you that things rarely have to be perfect or perfectly in place before getting going on your own midlife plot twist. You're listening to the Midlife Plot Twist podcast, and this is episode 30. Hello, I want to say my usual happy Monday, but it's actually Tuesday. I wasn't able to get an episode out yesterday, and it made me realize how much this podcast has become something really important to me. Now, 30 episodes in, I look forward to recording these little snippets of life every week, and I hope that I don't miss a Monday again. So, yesterday, I missed recording this episode, or I chose not to record this episode because it was the first official day of classes for my new degree. If you've been listening to the Midlife Plot Twist podcast for a while now, you know that I submitted a successful application to do a master's degree. Yesterday was the beginning of this new goal. Going back to school in my 40s, after having completed a PhD 8 years ago, was not something that I planned for and is a huge part of my midlife plot twist. If someone had told me even a couple of years ago that I would be going back to school to do another degree, I would have said, no way. I had a lot of healing and growing to do before I was able to decide for real that I wanted this new path. I had huge fears to overcome before starting. Fears of failure, inadequacy, financial insecurity, fears of disappointing people or letting others down. Fears of being judged as foolish, of looking foolish, or even discovering that I am in fact foolish. All of these fears, though, focused my attention on the views and opinions of others first and foremost. They overlooked many of my own needs and desires. So I overlooked my own needs and desires and focused on other people because I learned I'm scared of others' opinions of me too. Part of the survival strategy that I developed over the years to try to avoid those fears are perfectionism and people pleasing, which leave no room for me to be who I am, to support my own needs, or to cheer myself on. I wonder if you can relate to any of this. Have you ever been so wrapped up in what everyone else desires and needs that you don't even know where to begin to find your own? You might even be so wrapped up in other people's needs and lives that you don't even yet know that you have needs, or that you have needs that are not being tended to and cared for. You might be at the stage in your path where all you see in front of you are obstacles and roadblocks to moving forward with a dream or a desire that you secretly hold for yourself. That can sound like, oh, I can't do that. I don't have time. I'm too busy. Or I can't do that. I have too many responsibilities. Or I'm needed in other important aspects of my life. Or I can't take the financial risk. All of these are very real and very valid, of course. And in my case, they were also fears that were holding me back as opposed to actual obstacles. I had to find ways to work with and work around them, of course, and I chose to do exactly that. All of this to say, I had to really work hard over the past 2 years to put myself at the heart of my own life. I had to root into myself and learn to stop running away from myself. When I stopped running, I realized that I'm not so bad after all. I realized that I have needs, and I realized that I needed some things to change in my life to support, well, me, but also to be able to be the best me I could be to support others, be that in my family, in my community, or in my profession that I will be developing. It's my hope that wherever you are on the development of your midlife plot twist, that you are being true, or at least are trying to be true to who you are, even if it means having to start from scratch and asking yourself lovingly, who am I? If you have a hard time answering that question, I did. How do you think your best friend would answer, who is she? Alternatively, if you have a hard time answering that, you can imagine someone that you really admire and make a list of all the things you admire about that person. I guarantee that these things that you admire or wish to be, that you see in other people, are things that you yourself possess or parts of who you are. And these aspects of yourself yearn to be experienced and expressed by you. Yesterday was not only the start of my degree, but it was my first time testing out the new schedule that I created with the new reality of my disabilities in mind. Yesterday was the first day of being back to work in some capacity after 2.5 years of being on sick leave from my position as a university professor. And I have to say that although it was exciting and positive, it was also a very real challenge. Returning to work after burnout and or illness is really difficult, as it turns out. For me, the biggest thing I struggled with yesterday was how automatically my body and mind tried to jump back into working in the same old ways that I used to work. And that was workaholically, for lack of a better way to put that. What does that look like? It looks like sitting at my desk managing strong feelings of overwhelm as I work. It looks like pushing through my body's basic needs for breaks, food, to stand up and move around, and even for bathroom breaks. I'm also trying to learn new ways of working that respect and focus on my strengths as a person who is neurodivergent in the learning space. So, in that way, I'm learning tools and tricks and tips and strategies and things like that. But I'm also learning to respect the different ways that I just am, how I think and process information and that sort of thing. So this is a really exciting new path with, all kinds of possibility that I feel up for. And while I do feel a sense of excitement about digging into the coursework this week, which I feel and hear calling to me as I record this episode, I recognize this morning that I'm also feeling, how do I put this? Like something is tempering that excitement. Something is holding back or muffling the excitement. And by that, I mean, I just can't fully feel the excitement. And I realized it's because it's being limited or softened by the fact that I still have this huge glaring loose end of my position at the university to deal with. So in the beginning of this episode, when I said that things don't have to be perfectly in place or figured out perfectly before we embark on our own midlife plot twist, this is a prime example of what I mean. Like, I got a strong feeling and idea about what it is that I want the overall general direction that I wanted to move in. And I started into action, taking action towards these, I guess I'm focused on the horizon right now. I'm really focused on the horizon, and I'm not focused on watching my feet as I walk along this path right now. That is a big, vague, vague way of saying that I still don't know what I'm doing with my position at the university. I'm supposed to be, or I was supposed to be, returning to work on a gradual return to work plan now, this week. But I'm waiting for the university to respond to accommodations that I have requested in order to be able to go back to work and to do so healthily and supportively. So I am still in limbo about that, and that is okay. I realize that a lot of life change requires us to be able to sit in and tolerate discomfort, uncertainty, and it's really hard. It's very difficult. But again, it's also exciting. At this point, I'm talking just to talk, so I'm going to end this episode for this week and get to my coursework. I look forward to recording a new episode next week. As always, please send me an email on, I don't know, anything that strikes your fancy. Feel free to reach out anytime. My email is midlifeplottwistpodcast@gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram at Midlife Plot Twist Podcast and on Threads at Midlife Plot Twist Podcast. I hope to see you on any of these and would love to hear about your own midlife plot twist. As always, and until next week, be well.